I studied statistics at Cal Poly Slow. I was convincing myself to go down the tech route because growing up in Silicon Valley, everyone is pretty much doing that. I was at Venmo and PayPal for internships and got what I thought was my dream job at Meta as a data scientist.
Looking at another round of tech layoffs, this time
Facebook's parent company Meta announced that it's more than 11,000 jobs, about 13% of total.
When I lost that job, it was a lot of forced time to find who I was again. I did end up getting another corporate job after that, sales at Workday, and I was faced with the reality that I do not fit in here and I do not belong here. It was never a matter of finding the right job for me. It was the fact that I will never fit in a corporate environment. And I knew from very early on in my life that I was meant to be an entrepreneur. Sometimes chapters are meant to close. You're not supposed to continue doing something just for the sake of it.
After leaving Workday, you wrote on LinkedIn, you spent some time figuring out how to unlearn all the damaging values picked up from the hyper-productive years of academics and corporate. So what were some of those and how did you go about unlearning them?
When you grow up in a very competitive schooling environment, you start to get addicted to academic validation. And I associated success with productivity, titles, how much money you were making, and people's reactions when I said, oh, I'm working at Facebook, at Workday. It was a lot of harmful values I picked up of gaining other people's validation instead of my own. And it was really confusing because it's really draining to be someone you're not. And I never felt that I was able to be who I was.
Hi, Richo. Thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. I would love to ask you for the first question, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you regret taking this leap of faith from a traditional career path right now? 0 being the best decision of your life and 10 is complete regret.
Like -100.
-100. Love that. Yeah, you have such an interesting background. I think you had a very kind of up and down journey from school years to potentially working at Meta, and then now you're with your Funny Table Media. So I would love to go back a little bit. So I know you've been an entrepreneur since you were like 5, 6, 7 years old, selling refurbished things, starting a tutoring business. Looking back, do you think that entrepreneurial drive was always there? Was it like something circumstantial? Did you have a lot of impact from your parents?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved building things. I think taking something from nothing and creating something, whether it was like starts off just as a simple idea and building something tangibly or a concept. I was never really surrounded by entrepreneurs growing up. Like my parents are not entrepreneurs, but I don't know if there was like a specific person or people I was around. I think just the energy you get from sharing your idea with people or having the confidence to be, yeah, I did this thing and trying to convince other people of the value of it or like have them see the same value that you see in it. So, yeah, I've always been like this. Like I cannot think of a time in my life where I wasn't. So I was born 2 months early. So my mom always likes to say like I've always been like in a rush or I don't know, hustling or just going for something. And yeah, for as long as I can remember, I've been like this.
Yeah, I love that. Would you mind just giving us a quick little overview of your journey so far to date?
Okay, yeah. I studied statistics at Cal Poly Slow. I kind of was convincing myself to go down the tech route because growing up in Silicon Valley, everyone is pretty much doing that. And my parents were never the people who were like, you have to be a software engineer or get a big high paying job. They've honestly always been the ones to be like, stop worrying about academics so much, make more YouTube videos. But I convinced myself that I needed this for just to fulfill societal validation. So I kind of went down the tech route a bit. I was at like Venmo and PayPal in college for internships. And then I got what I thought was my dream job at Meta as a data scientist. But then the tech layoffs happened in the fall of 2022. So they lost that job. And it was just a lot of soul searching after that because I think I had spent a lot of time chasing other people's goals instead of my own and doing things that I thought would make other people happy rather than myself. And it was always this dichotomy of pursuing my passions and what I wanted in my life in terms of food and media and entrepreneurship or doing the safe route, what would make other people happy. So when I lost that job, it it was a lot of forced time to find who I was again. And then I did end up getting another corporate job after that, sales at Workday. And it was my first in person corporate job. So I think I was faced with the reality immediately that I do not fit in here and I do not belong here and I never will. It was never a matter of, oh, finding the right job for me. It was the fact that will never ever fit in a corporate environment. I was never meant to be an employee. And I think I knew from very early on in my life that I was meant to be an entrepreneur. So then quit that last year, then did more, I would say, career searching to figure out my creative voice, what I wanted to focus on, because I knew it was going to be in food and media. But I had been out of the YouTube and film world for since middle school at that point, and I didn't know who I was. So traveled Southeast Asia for a bit, interviewed people, befriended people, made videos, and it was just building my confidence. And then at the start of this year, I came up with the idea for Funny Table Media. I had just been talking to so many people in this space. And I think when you're so used to setting your expectations low for your dreams your whole life, you don't realize how the limits are literally endless. There is no limit. You don't realize how big you can dream. And I like to say that I'm building the food network for the immigrant population in the US. I think that's the best way to describe it. I think there's a really big gap in the market for comprehensive education around a diverse set of cultures or food. And I think there's never going to be an upper limit to representation. I think more representation is great. And if you look like me, unfortunately, it's objectively harder to get opportunities in media if you look like me, if you're a woman, if you're a person of color. And I just want to selfishly produce my own TV show, but also be able to produce other people's TV shows and just talk about food and show people just how amazing this world is. And yeah, I like to think that food is such an easy way to bring people together. And if we all see how similar what we eat, maybe we'll start to see how similar we all are. And maybe the world will be a better place.
That's such an interesting journey. And there's so many things that we can unpack here. I really feel when you said there was this expectation from other people, and then there is what you actually want. And so you actually tried both worlds, and you did internships at Venmo and PayPal, but also now you're pivoting to what you actually want, which is something that I think a lot of us are struggling with, is like defining what your success actually look like as opposed to what society want your success to look like. So tell us a little bit more about like your internship at those places and your work experience as well at Workday. And what did you do? Like, what were some of the things, the strategies that you used to cope with like that identity crisis and figuring out who you actually are and what you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was any one moment that it switched my brain. I think it was a progressive. I was at these jobs and just it was not working. Like I know what I feel like when I'm excited and lit up with passion and fire, like when I would do pop-ups in college or when I would work at a restaurant or when I would I don't know, work with people, tutoring them or teaching. And I I knew what it meant to be excited by something, and I was so confused why I was not feeling that, because when you spend hours on LinkedIn and people talking about oh, I got this job or I now work at this place and this title, and I started getting those titles, but I was not happy and it was just really draining. I and I didn't understand why, and I think I just kept convincing myself, no, I know I can do this. I know I can climb up the corporate ladder and make a lot of money and have all these titles because I think that's what will make me happy. Um, and I think it was because all my internships in the past were virtual. So I think finally being in a physical environment at Workday, and nothing against them as a company. I think it was just that was my first in-person job, and I was faced with the reality physically that I do not belong here. And I think hearing everyone talking about promotions and where that they wanted to go in their career and what they wanted to do with their life, I just could never participate in those conversations. So yeah, I think working in person finally forced me to accept that I do not see myself here.
hmm Were there anything else that you tried before deciding on Funny Table Media and doing food production?
I mean, no, since quitting my job I came into it with like, I know I want to be in food and media. I know I don't want to be an independent solo creator. Because I know like I see people do this on their own platforms, and I know that that was a almost like a straightforward path in the content creation world, but I always knew that what I wanted to do was bigger than just me. I knew I wanted to bring people into it, and I think I was just looking for the problem. And I think through traveling and also just meeting more people, I was seeing that a consistent problem was how much like biases we have towards other people, and how like I would open my like lunch at work and or anywhere, it's like, oh, what are you eating? Oh, you never heard of that? That looks weird. And I was like, it's 2025. How are this feels like it's like supposed to be in kindergarten. And so no, I didn't necessarily try anything before Funny Table. I think it was more of an iterative process to get to the idea of it.
So, just going back a little bit, after leaving Workday, I know, and I quote, you wrote on LinkedIn, you spent some time figuring out how to unlearn all the damaging values I'd picked up from the hyper productive years of academics and corporate. So, what were some of those damaging values, and how did you go about unlearning them throughout your journey?
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day, and like, I don't know if it's necessarily directly from academic or corporate, or more that I just internalize these values so deeply. I think when you grow up in a very competitive schooling environment, you start to get addicted to academic validation. And I think I just carry that with me. So I honestly think that I am the like I am the cause of those damaging values. I think you can very easily navigate this world and be in corporate and academia with having very good morals and values, but I just was chasing the wrong thing, and I think I associated success with productivity and with titles and how much money you were making, and like people's reactions when I said like, "Oh, I'm working at Facebook at Workday and this and that." And um I yeah, I just think it was a lot of harmful values I picked up of gaining other people's validation instead of my own. And I feel like now it's been so long since I've been in that environment, so I can't even remember if there's anything specific about those places. I think one thing I noticed in corporate is that it was really hard to be myself. Like I am through and through, like I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I noticed that I had to filter who I was in order to like make small talk at meetings, or no one really knew each other, and it was really confusing because it's really draining to be someone you're not, and I never felt that I was able to be who I was. So I think maybe that is part of it, but also I've never worked like a corporate job more than like 3 months, so I don't know how much I can say.
But I definitely like I feel that like title and having your identity tied into the perceived success, because I've gone through like a very similar route where I had the title of data scientist. On a very similar path, and oh, like making six figures and being at like in tech, all those things that seem great. And I mean, we don't take it for granted. It's like a really good experience that we've gone through, but at the same time, you kind of feel like empty inside, or I felt like I didn't have enough of an impact. So I kind of moved into social media where I could make more impact with people. So you traveled through Southeast Asia. When was that in your timeline?
This was fall. This was like mid August through November 2024. And then before that, I backpacked Europe after college, like for 3 months. So, yeah, two big solo adventures then.
That's incredible. So how did you decide to do that in the first place? And I guess what did that journey teach you about yourself that you couldn't have learned staying at home trying to figure things out?
I work really well under pressure, and I like a challenge almost to an unhealthy extent. And I say this in a good way. I know at least I used to be slightly impulsive, but I think sometimes we get so used. I think if you spend too much time thinking through everything, you're going to ignore your gut instincts. And I think that's something I've always been good at. Whether even in the past I maybe acted on those gut instincts a little bit too fast, I still think I was very aware of what I wanted in that moment. And I always took that opportunity. And I think I went into this trip with a very ambitious plan that I was going to make all these videos, but the actual practical reality of executing that is really difficult for a number of reasons. I was in countries that I've never been before. I didn't know the language. Solo traveling as a woman itself can be not intimidating, but like safety can always be an issue that you're thinking of in the back of your head. I had all this expensive camera gear on me that I was paranoid that I would get jumped. Or maybe that only happens in like SF because I felt so safe in Asia. Um, I didn't have any connections, so I I think I have always adopted the mindset that like things do work out, but I that was such a difficult process because what I wanted to do was so insanely hard. And what I wanted to do is what I'm doing now. Just now I have a team of videographers and editors and research assistants and me. So I think I had realized during that moment the types of videos I want to produce, the documentaries I want to produce, I cannot do it alone as much as I thought I could. I've been so used to doing all this alone that it never really occurred to me that working with other people is a reality. But I would say honestly, like solo travel has probably provided me the most foundational skill set in to have the confidence to build a company, especially one in film and production, because I have in the beginning of this year, I had no connections in the film industry. I've never been formally in it. I've just made YouTube videos out of my bedroom. And I've been learning the last few months how film anything is 90% planning and logistics. And holy crap, I am so glad that I'm such a type A organizer person who like had all this experience solo traveling because I all that experience I can apply directly to producing videos in terms of like location and commute and like where do you park? Okay, we go this place, we shoot that place. And yeah, that trip like really changed my life. I met people who really like influenced the fabric of Funny Table and myself. And I'm at first I felt so guilty when I came back because I didn't make the work that I thought I wanted. But those seeds that I planted last year, they're now like blooming. And I think it was a really good reminder that sometimes you don't see the like immediate returns of your work at the beginning. You have to wait. And yeah, I'm just really glad I had the patience. I'm really glad I made that jump because I didn't know what I was doing, but that's kind of the point. If you knew what you were doing your entire life, like life would be boring and you're supposed to figure it out and do slightly impulsive, crazy trips when you're 24 because why not?
Yeah, I love that.
That trip was like difficult for a number of reasons. It was also speaking in public, vlogging in public. I think getting used to being on camera. I was so nervous. There were like aunties yelling at me in markets in Hanoi because my tripod was in their space and it's so humid and hot and working with camera gear and you're so overstimulated and there's so many sounds and noises and lights and I look back, I'm like, I was so naive for thinking I could do that. But it's a lot more enjoyable to produce the same work I wanted, but with other people because, I don't know, working with people is always more fun.
Yeah. Well, so you went on this trip not to just, I guess, travel for fun, but you actually went with a purpose.
Yeah.
You wanted to film those footage for Funny Table Media.
Funny Table didn't exist until I came back from that trip. I went into the trip with like, I think I want to make documentaries. I also have always wanted to go to these countries, especially Vietnam. So let me just film what I can and see if I can interview people. And I had all this research done. My sister had helped me for videos, but I think the execution became a lot harder. So it was a lot of like mental breakdowns and existential crisis because I knew what I wanted to do. I just did not know how to do it. I didn't have the resource, or I should say I didn't have like the resources to do it because it was extremely hard to do what I wanted to do alone, essentially produce a TV travel show with me as the host, videographer, producer, and it was insane. So then I think I was in Manila and on my way back, I had DM'd this, his name is Erwan Husif, and he essentially has created the Bon Appetit equivalent of the Philippines. And I saw that he started as an independent creator, like on YouTube, like years ago. So I just DM'd him and I said, how did you do this? And he gave me he gave me his whole list of what he did for the last 15 years.
Wow.
And I think receiving that message put a green light in my head because I didn't even know. Sometimes you don't know what you want until you see it. And it's like, oh, I think I was struggling that entire trip trying to figure out, why am I doing this? Like, what is this going to be? And I didn't have that what. And as soon as he said that, I was like, that's what I want to do. I think I was noticing this problem of like a lack of education and lack of understanding, but I didn't know that like vessel that it belonged in. And so I came back home and Funny Table was originally supposed to be a restaurant in my mind, and it was supposed to center like diverse food and food from all different cultures and have a big aspect on community building. And I had this whole like kind of business plan written out. And it was funny because funny. It's funny because it evolved into a media company with the same values that we want to represent a diverse set of cultures. We want community to be a big aspect of it. We want to be like represented, like inclusive of all different types of backgrounds. And I started researching the backgrounds of other food media companies in the US, like Eater and Infatuation started in a similar way to how I'm starting now. Someone in their early 20s had I have food blogs started or like research or interviews, and then now Infatuation is acquired by Chase and Eater is acquired by Vox. So I think I was starting to see that I don't think I ever knew that I wanted to start a company, but I think I saw this problem. I saw people having done this. I said, well, why not? Like, I don't think I could care about anything more than I care about Funny Table. And this is an insane thing to want. But what is life if not like working towards an insanely big goal that you want?
Working towards Funny Table Media, or like all the things that you tried beforehand, have you ever thought about in the back of your head, like, what about my degree, or what about the path I was going to be originally on? And if so, how did you make peace with that?
Oh no. I love my degree. I love statistics. I was such a nerd. I was such a teacher's pet. I'm still friends with my professor. My first the professor in college that convinced me to switch majors from business to statistics. Um, I still visit SLO once or twice a year. So glad I prioritized my education so much purely because I loved it. I probably put too much stress on myself in college, but I never took my education for granted. And sometimes like chapters are meant to close. Sometimes like you're not supposed to continue doing something just for the sake of it. I like still like solve like integrals for fun, and like I have like a sheet of formulas in my room, and I love math, and I don't necessarily like am doing like regression analysis in my day to day, but I've always been a very like analytical person and numbers minded, and I don't know if my degree has any influence on that, but I think like it was an experience. It was an experience at the end of the day that I really love and will cherish forever, and know that at that chapter in my life I made the most of it. And I think that's what I hope people in college like just don't take it for granted. I think education is such a privilege. I don't think I look back or had ever looked back and was like, oh, I'm not doing anything related to my degree, because you don't need to. I think instead of seeing like, oh, I studied this in college, so I should be doing this. Well, what do you want to do now? Sometimes doing those things in college take you to where you're going to be now.
Yeah. Do you think it has helped in some way to develop your company now?
Not my degree necessarily. I think I've always been a pretty disciplined student, so I can't like attribute that to my degree. Um, I like started some clubs in college, and like I did pop-ups, so I think just the experience itself from college maybe helped. Or yeah, nothing specifically. I think literally I pushed myself a lot. Like I started solo hiking in college and meeting people and solo traveling. So I think a lot of the experiences from college I'm really glad I pursued, because the dominoes landed in a place to where I am now.
Yeah. Let's talk about Funny Table Media now. So when you filmed those documentaries when you're in Vietnam and Asia, are they available now? Can we still see them?
There's a couple like interviews posted, but I didn't I have like a lot of footage from the countries, but they're not like any cohesive videos. It was more like exposure therapy to get used to filming in public and like teaching myself more about cinematography and the logistics of producing. So, I mean, we have a couple videos that we might post from there, but the videos that we're posting now are being filmed currently. So I'm in the process of talking to more like DPs to work with because that's like the last puzzle piece we need to produce the type
What
of
are DPs?
director of photography. So
Yeah,
cinematographers, videographers. So I'm starting to network a lot more with like people in the film industry in the Bay. So, I mean, yeah, eventually in a few years, I definitely want to make it back. Like Vietnam will be the first country I go to internationally with Funny Table, and I already know the videos I'm gonna make. I My first day in Vietnam, I befriended my tour guide, who is now like such a close friend of mine and writes articles for Funny Table and is so supportive. So we already like, yeah, we're gonna go back to our hometown when we come to Vietnam and film videos. Um, but yeah, all our Funny Table videos right now are like taking place in the Bay Area.
You mentioned building a team for Funny Table Media, and have you ever had experience with building a team before?
Like recruiting officers for like clubs, I think, and then I think I worked with a couple people for pop-ups, but not to this extent, no.
Yeah. So how did you figure that out?
Oh man, I swear to you, was not planned. Like I did not come into this year being like, I'm going to recruit members to build a team. I came into this year being, okay, I know what I want to do. It is going to take a while to get to a point where I have the money and resources and people to build a media company. So let me just make videos alone at home and like go the traditional YouTuber route until I build the capital to do that. And then right before left for Asia, I met my friend Alvin on Facebook Marketplace. I was selling him a lens, who then was so generous at the beginning of this year to film videos with me. And he really helped me come out of my shell and build my confidence as like a TV host, essentially. And then I joined a writing class and I met my friend now, Sangeetha, who wrote a few articles for Funny Table. And then Ovia from Vietnam, my food tour guide, who we stayed in touch with. And I told her what I was doing with Funny Table and asked if she would maybe want to write some stuff. And then Chloe from Australia saw some of my videos from Vietnam before Funny Table started. And she had DM'd me on Instagram saying, hey, I like what you're doing. I don't know if there's any way I can be a part of it. And she writes some stuff. And then I went to Creator Camp in April, which is hosted by essentially the biggest film people in the YouTube world. And that like helped me go from 10 to 90 immediately. Like suddenly I had a network of people in film in the Bay Area. And I met Sam, who now helps me with research and production, and Ritu with editing. And I think there's a few more people I'm helping, but or a few more people I'm forgetting, but like I did not plan for this. And I think that's a really important thing I try to tell people. You can have an idea, but sometimes you kind of have to just let life happen and go after opportunities and keep putting yourself out there because the right people will come. And I now understand when people say that it's the people that make a company, or people that people are the most important part, because I don't want anyone just working on this. Like I want to work with people who believe in the value of what I'm doing and also believe like in the value of what they're doing for this. So it took me like, I think from March until July, I was like, what the heck is going on? Because I was like, I had so much imposter syndrome and didn't understand why all these people were like essentially believing in me before I had anything to show for Funny Table. So I don't think I have any advice on it. I think it's more like you just have to do it and you will figure it out. I have been so honest with everyone I'm working with, and they know that I'm so new to this, but they've been so patient with me and so encouraging. And I've gotten less hard on myself. I think I was like, I'm not doing it right. Like I need to do better, but I was like managing so many things at once. And it took me a long time to just understand how to grow a business and build a company and also learn production and film and all these things that I've never done before. So, I think you just got to do it and you'll make mistakes, but that's kind of part of it.
Yeah. No, your story is a lot of determination and passion and, well, luck, but you were open to opportunities and you did all the hard work when you did pop-ups and YouTube and going to Asia to film those things. And when, I guess, opportunities came and knocked on your door, you were open to it. So it was really the right you had the right background, or like you did a lot of work and the right people at the right place at the right time. And I love that for you. Yeah. So you mentioned like you went to a creator boot camp. This is something, or not boot camp, creator camp. Yes. This is something that I've talked with a lot of people recently, and we're talking about how you're putting in like a lot of money for a boot camp or for a course, or investing in like a mentor, which might seem like investment heavy upfront in terms of monetary values, but we all get more return than what we initially put in. So how, and like I love your story about how you opened up your network in the Bay Area. So I guess for other people, like what would you say, like would you recommend everybody who is starting out to try to do this way if they can, just to jumpstart their career or their whatever they want to do?
Are you talking about creator camps specifically?
Creator camps are just like similar things like creator camps where like you would have to pay a fee upfront to get the experience or to get the mentorship and guidance.
So that creator camp wasn't a boot camp. Creator camp is a film festival, and there actually doesn't exist anything like that right now. So they started something that they saw a gap in the market, and they're trying to democratize essentially Hollywood and make it more accessible for people like me to produce their own work. So what they were doing was a huge deal because there are so many people around me everywhere who wants to get into the film industry, but maybe, or we want to be more than just YouTube, but we like Hollywood is so gatekept and we need more resources to produce what we want independently. So they were a film festival, and they had their first annual one in April, and it sounds like it's going to be a regular thing. But um it if you've heard of Sundance Film Festival, or there's other ones that I don't really know the name of, but I came into it having not been to a film festival before, and I didn't know what they were. It's essentially a huge networking event for people in the film industry. So it's like, yeah, you get to watch these amazing short films and features that people have made and go to workshops, but also talk to entrepreneurs and cinematographers and DPs and actors. And I was like, whoa, this is the world I've always wanted to be in, and I just didn't know it existed. Um, so it wasn't like really a big investment. I mean, I think it was like a $300 like ticket, but in terms of like capitalizing on opportunities that come your way, yes, I live in the suburbs right now, so I don't even live in a big city. So yes, it's I guess more effort for me to meet people, but DM people, like message people if you like network. Like I network. I have always, before I even knew what networking was, I networked. I would say hi to people on the street when I was 5 years old, and I still do that. And I think, okay, maybe not to that extent, but I think there is value in constantly just like just getting to know people and putting yourself out there, because you'd be surprised how many people want to help you and want to hear your story and be a part of it. So I can't speak to like courses or boot camps, but if opportunities come your way, I mean, don't sleep on it. You never know what can come out of these things. Like I met who, like one of my good friends, Garrett, now I met him at Creator Camp. We actually met on YouTube. Like I watched his video and I was trying to make more YouTube friends. And then we like bumped into each other in front of the bathroom at Creator Camp. And he now has done like the branding and illustration for Funny Table, which is just so amazing. And I wish we lived in the same city. He's in Missouri. But it's like stuff like that. Like I met such influential people during this camp that I couldn't have planned for. So yeah, I think people, and that's it. People are everything. So just keep putting yourself out there, and you may meet people who will change the very fabric of what you're doing.
I think I had a misconception of that. Yeah, I thought Creator Camp was more like a course boot camp, but no, it's more like a film festival. Yeah. And okay, awesome. So what's next? What's next for Funny Table Media? What do you have planned?
I would say like this year has been the build stage. I like had the idea, and I think I was just wanting to get the MVP out, the like minimum viable product, and just to see like, can I do this? Like, can I present in public? Can I be a good, captivating host? Can I like, do I know what I'm looking for in terms of stylistic components of producing this type of work? How do I actually do that in terms of like filming a video in public? There's, I don't know, there's a lot of things out of your control when you film anything. How do I build a network of people in the film industry in the Bay? Does that even exist? And I have, like, now I've proved to myself, okay, I can produce the work I want. So I think the rest of this year is just going to be, um, honestly, just following like my curiosity for the rest of the year and like my creative intuition, because someone told me at camp, put the art before the business. And I think I was so focused on the business before the art the first half of the year. And now I'm like, you know what? Like the money will come and I cannot let that be a stressor towards the work I want to make, because it was like being a detriment to the quality of work I was putting out. So yeah, I think there's going to be a big level up in our videos coming out now that we have an actual team we're working with. And we're just going to like produce the highest quality type of work for the rest of the year and take it from there. Like I have very, very large plans for Funny Table, but the first step is essentially producing the highest quality show with me as a primary host before we're bringing on collaborators and producing work for other people. Like, can I have a proof of concept down that I can do this, and then try to convince other people that they can do it too.
And looking back to your whole journey, what do you think, like, what are some of the things that you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did that? Or things that were more like, oh, I probably didn't need to try that in order to achieve what I wanted to?
Yeah, solo travel was a big part of it. I think that really helped me find my confidence as like, I guess, a woman, and like seeing what I was capable of and realizing that I'm a hell of a lot more capable than I thought, and I can take care of myself and what I want to do and achieve what I want, and I physically don't necessarily need to rely on people to do that. Um, I think working honestly in the food industry, like food service, is something that I recommend everyone to do. That taught me so much humility and gave me so much grace for people in these industries, and really helped me humanize the people that work in and people that we interact with every day for our day-to-day lives. Like, we need to eat, and like people have touched everything we eat, and sometimes I think we forget that. And I will never forget like the 12-hour days, or maybe not 12, I think it was only 8 hours, but like it's exhausting. It is like backbreaking to work in food service, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. And I loved it. I think I you really understand, especially working at like a Michelin star restaurant, it really shows you how much discipline and labor and love goes into what you're eating. And I earn so much respect for people in the industry. Um, yeah, I mean, like doing pop-ups and just biting off more than I can chew, and realizing sometimes being too ambitious can be a problem. And genuinely, I think looking back on my life and doing all the somewhat stupid shit that I've done, I am so happy. Like, I had so many leadership positions for a while, but I was not necessarily good at them. I got like fired from like for club positions, like fired from them. And I'm so glad, because I didn't know what I was doing, but I think I've become a good leader now because I was a really like I used to be a bad one, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I think, I don't know, maybe it's a numbers game. You just develop experience and you learn from that. So I can't say it's any specific thing. I just am really glad I did everything.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your journey with us and inspiring us. Just to wrap this conversation up, what is like one piece of advice that you would give to someone who maybe is stuck in a corporate job, or who want to find out what their thing is, like how you found through food? What would you recommend them to do?
I would say my story is a little different because I didn't necessarily discover this later in life. Like, I've been doing this my whole life. So I've always known I wanted to do this, but I would say do things that interest you and listen to your inner monologue. I think we get so used to ignoring like our instinct. So just listen to yourself. Like, you'd be surprised. You know more than you think, and like find confidence in your own voice. So Funny Table, how I like to explain it to people, it's the Food Network, but for the immigrant population in the US. So just how Eater and Bon Appetit and New York Times Cooking exist, essentially the business model looks in parallel to that. So written publication and a video platform, but right now our priority is video. So at the start, the priority is building a TV show around me, essentially, and eventually I want to get to a point where I'm producing TV shows for other people. So recipes, documentaries, like adventure shows, like, I don't know, camp cooking. So have that like a whole diversity of video and work, and a whole like representation of all types of backgrounds. I just want to create opportunities for more people who look like me, who would otherwise have a harder time having opportunities in getting opportunities in the media industry.
Love that. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us today.